Welcome, everyone. Can you hear and see us? During somebody answer this, I want to say today we are going to talk about the Pervasive DevOps at this Cubics webinar. I am Alexandra Pro, software developer and Scrum Master at Evosoft, and I'm going to be your host today. Cubics Institute of Technology aims to gather the most important skill set building blocks for IT professionals by organizing cohort-based online IT and tech trainings with the help of industry-leading mentors, tech companies, and higher education institutions. Today, my guest will be David Csendes, Cloud Native Java developer at Alerant. He has been working with Kubernetes for almost 5 years, performing the work on numerous Cloud Native applications for major companies, and recently responsible for moving several complex applications to the cloud. And Laszlo Jagustin, IT technology professional and architect at Alerant. Laszlo leading DevOps implementation projects in large enterprise environments for more than 10 years. A few more operational details before we get started. You can ask questions at any time in the comments. All questions will be answered at the end of the webinar. And if you can stay for the end, you can watch the webinar back on Cubic's Facebook and YouTube pages. So if you haven't already, follow us on our social platforms. I don't want to waste time for our guests. My first question is based on the fact that for a long time I thought I knew what DevOps was. I open Jenkins, I press some buttons, and everything works by itself. No, I know that's not the case. So my question is, what is DevOps?
Okay, hi everybody. I think it's not easy because the right answer is here. So it means that there is no official definition for DevOps, or we have too much definitions. That's the problem, in my point of view. So I heard about a lot of things that what is DevOps in terms of technology, in terms of organization, why that whole developers and operations are working together, or is it a process or something like that? But I think basically that's the problem. But we are using this word of DevOps, but we don't know that what is really and what is the aim of DevOps. So why we are using that? But I don't know that. For example, David, what is your experience when you met the first time with DevOps?
Hello there. So for me, DevOps is, as I am a developer, DevOps makes my life a lot easier. This is what I experience. And I can see that this is based on technically communication, collaboration kind of stuff. So I communicate more with the operations side, and we are connected with each other due to automation. So that means to me.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Yeah.
So there are no official definition, but I think you have your own understanding for this.
Yes, as I have an understanding, but it's not better or worse than anybody's. I deal with a lot of time these problems. But before we are starting to define that what it is and go into the details, I would like to show you an interesting thing that if you go into a recruitment portal or a job portal and search for DevOps, you will see that that it is very, very different what different companies means about DevOps. So if you see there are release engineer that is DevOps, a DevOps engineer that's the exact match, that's great, but what does it mean? There is a system delivery engineer in AI field, there is an AWS architect or platform engineer, etc. So it is hard to find. So if I'm a recruiter, it is, I think, the total thing that I have a client and ask for a DevOps expert, because it's almost impossible to find a DevOps expert because everybody means a different thing about that. So I think it's part of the problem that a DevOps role is completely different at every company. So it makes sense to define, not because we would like to define everything, but it helps, for example, for the recruiters, that we are looking for a DevOps guy or a DevOps girl. What means that in our company, we have to fulfill this position or this task, or we have this type of problem, and then please help. So DevOps alone is not enough to define the thing. So the message of this slide of that. But anyway, DevOps definitely means something about development, something about operations, and something about quality assurance, something about security. So it is not only DevOps, but we have DevSecOps and other things that attach to that. And there are a lot of definitions, but we can agree that somehow it is about that how these areas of the IT is able to work together, process-wise, organization-wise, or technology-wise. And but why we are doing that? Because it's about that. Okay, these guys should work together. I see. But why we would like to do that? And by my experience, DevOps is a collaboration framework and or some approach that allows development, quality assurance, security, operations, so the various areas of IT allows to meet the today's rapidly changing business demands and customer needs. What does it mean? That the environment, the business environment is changing very rapidly. The business don't know what they want, or they know, but they know every day different thing. So it is hard to fulfill that thing. And we need something on the IT side that helps adapting this rapidly changing business environment and to fulfill the most important thing in this rapidly changing environment, speed. So that's basically that's the essence of DevOps. We need speed. We need speed in organizational communications. We need speed in, for example, deployment. That's about automation, or build the software. That's about automation. Or we need speed about communication in a lot of areas. And the DevOps is about that. I don't know if you have some experience at your company, Alexa or David, that means, or about that you are using DevOps because you need something faster or better quality, but a better quality means faster because we won't have failures, so we are able to finish the things in time, or any other dimension.
Alexandra first.
Maybe in some cases with the automations. So no need for every developer to merge the branches together for the main branch, and it means the speed for me. That's the main point for me in my understanding.
Yeah, sure. That's also DevOps. So yeah, sure.
Yeah, for me, so yeah, automation is one thing, and maybe the other thing is having the communication from operations to developers that something is wrong and we must intervene. We must do something about it. This is a real story. So we saw that there were a lot of failures, and then we could react, and it was all based on automatic messaging, alerting, and so on. So this was way quicker than if a person would have watched the monitor and would wait for any alert to happen.
Yeah, definitely. That also helps. Yeah.
Let's say I am an IT company manager. This is my favorite example. So speed is the main point why my company needs DevOps, or I'm not sure yet. Do I need it? My imaginary IT company works in Agile. Does DevOps also work in an Agile way? How can I coordinate with our current operations? What processes does it have? Or will it improve our current operations?
Yeah. Agile and DevOps, I think Agile is the other word. That we could have another webinar about Agile, because it also means nothing. So we are using this word also in a lot of contexts. And if we need to be agile. So we can agree that okay, we are very agile, but not agile enough. So that's the main point. But what does it mean? Most of the time, it means the agile that DevOps is about IT. It means that on IT, the developers, the operations, or any other IT area that we mentioned, security and quality assurance or whatever, should work together seamlessly to have better speed, a better delivery speed, or better change speed, how to change something in IT. Agile is a bit different because it is not about collaboration, it is not about speed, but Agile is about that how can we create a product. We use the Agile methodology most of the time when we are creating a product. So it is very hard to interpret Agile, for example, for a Linux administrator who administers some servers and hardware. It is very hard to work in an Agile way because there are no Scrum teams or stand-ups or whatever. They have to deal with hardware problems and software problems. So it is different. But if we are developing a product, then it means that there is business. And if we are developing a product in this very, very fast changing business environment, hard to say that what do we need. We feel that we need something, a product that fulfills some customer needs, but it is very hard to define. So if the business defines something and it takes 9 months to get the IT system for that, that's too slow. After 9 months, the business wants very, very, very different thing. So, and they won't be happy because they want, after 9 months, completely different thing. So Agile is about that how to work together, IT and business, to reach the goal that the business wants, or changing very fast the goals. Every 2 weeks, if we are using Scrum, we are able to run in a different direction. But it's good. It's not bad because we can change the direction very, very quickly. So the Agile means that we would like to create a product with a minimum effort and the most flexible way. And how DevOps can help Agile. DevOps can help Agile on that way that in Agile point of view, we are creating a product in a very flexible way, but we need IT features to implement that thing. I mean, IT have to do very, very fast development, very, very fast change management or something like that. This is where DevOps helps Agile because it's enable IT to be fast enough to also to fulfill the business needs. But it's different. This two methodology is a two different dimension of the same thing. Agile is a product and business point of view, solves the problem. DevOps solve the problem in IT point of view. So that's the main difference between the two. So yeah, and if we are talking about DevOps, because it's not an Agile webinar as we mentioned, but it's important to have the context of DevOps in this world. Then we can deal with processes, technology, and people. So this is always the three dimension, whereas it makes sense to see that how DevOps is working. And as you mentioned, it is the process dimension of DevOps is attached to the Agile delivery method, because if we are doing Agile, it means that we are working, for example, in sprints. In the defined time period, for example, 2 weeks, we are able to go to a different direction. So that's the main point of that. And I think it's also important to mention that Agile doing this delivery method, that every 2 weeks we are developing something and go live with something, because the biggest problem could be with speed is our dependencies. Dependency means, I will explain in a few sentences, we have dependencies for other systems. We have to wait for that release. We have dependency on environment. We have no free test environment. We have to wait for the release to go out, or any other. We have resource dependencies, or lead developer or lead testers are doing different things, or on holiday or something like that. So there are a lot of dependence could be there, and these dependencies are manageable within 2 weeks. We are able to foresee that, okay, in the next 2 weeks, these guys will do something different, or we won't have an environment to test the stuff or something like that. For 9 months, it's very, very hard to see the problems. So this is why we try to manage the next 2 weeks always, because it's easy and we are able to manage it. So this is the aim of this delivery method, the Agile delivery method, and it is also attaching to DevOps, because we have to include the whole IT to this delivery methodology. Because, for example, if we are very agile and we are developing the stuff, but the operations are not able to adapt to that, then we will have a dependency and we will wait. So that's the main point. So
we can see plan, design, build, test, review, and launch. And where is the DevOps in here?
DevOps is an enabler only to that, because who is missing? So that's the question. And I think here is the answer. Who is missing? We have these circles: revise, test, build, etc. Everybody is very happy at the developer side. We have a Scrum Master who helps run all of the things and handle all of the problems. We have a product owner who knows that where are the directions, etc. But where is operations? And I think it is not agile if we have a very, very good developer team who always blocks on operational stuff. That's not agile and not fast. We can explain that we are blocked, but it won't be fast. So this is why important to connect the agile development methodology, something that includes operations. And DevOps helps in that way. The whole IT should be fast to be able to reach the goal, not only the development part. So this is how the two things are connected together. Very, very different methodology, but have dependency on each other, these two things. Okay, and how can we involve operations into that? It means that it's great if the developers are able to build the software with continuous integration, continuous testing, so in a very fast way. They are able to release the stuff with continuous delivery and deployment, but somehow we have to operate the same way the system with continuous operation. It means that we monitor continuously the system and we have a feedback loop to the developers. And that's the core. I think the most or the biggest achievement of DevOps that helps developers and operations working together and share the information. Because if there is a problem in the production system, who is able to correct it in the most efficient way? Only developers. They know everything about the production system. So if the operational guys are suffering for days or weeks with problems without developer help, it won't be fast. So somehow we have to share information. And it helps that end of the day, the business will be much more successful. So do you have any example at your organization for these operations and developer problems, or success stories where it worked well and you have good memories about that?
Yeah, the previous example I mentioned is kind of like that, and I think there were other examples in finance, in a financing company. This is also developed quite nicely, and even if so, we get that something is wrong, and we have tools that with which we can really easily find the core of the problem through, for example, looking through the logs. And all of this is streamlined. This is really simple for us to handle it. So I think what we should also pinpoint that the tooling is really important in DevOps. to manage DevOps, to have a really efficient DevOps cycle, we have to also use really efficient tools.
Yeah.
So there are some benefits, but how much does it cost? And there are any other benefits for the DevOps?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So for what David mentioned, on the technology side, we could have advantages, but there are also other areas where we have things. The first is the process improvement results. It means that we are able to release much faster and more frequently. And what this is why is it important, the agile method, that in agile method we would like to release every 2 weeks, but it have some conditions that should be met. It means that if before DevOps, how a legacy IT works, there is some development, there is the big wall with of the quality assurance. We have to create the perfect software, we have to create the perfect tests, and there is also a big quality gate. But then we can go into production. If the in an agile circle, if the developers and testers and business are able to work together seamlessly, it means that one wall is missing. We are able to do this in weeks, the things, but operations are again not part of this circle. But if we are able to work together with operations, then we are able to release not in weeks, we are able to release within days the stuff, because we don't have to wait for operational quality gates for big releases or any other approvals to be able to go into go live. So the aim of DevOps together with Agile, that 2 weeks is fine, but with DevOps we are able to do this something within a day, and I think it's a big difference. So there are big companies, for example, one of my colleagues worked at Booking.com. They are able to, from the business idea to the production go live, they are able to do this within 1 day. And I think it's for such a big company, it's a big difference. So it's a big achievement, and they are using this methodology. So, and there are also other benefits like cost reduction, because if there are communication problems, if we are slow, that means a lot of costs. So for example, if our developers have to wait days or weeks, some IT resource from operations, it's very expensive because they are not able to do anything, and we will pay for that. So we can have a very good cost reduction. Or we can automate the testing, because this type of automated pipelines, we can have much faster deployment. We can have a standardized environment because we provision everything in an automated way. It means that we can standardize the stuff. We can better utilize our infrastructure because it's built by an automated way. It's very easy to rebuild and automate the things. And we can automatize the routine task also. Why is it important? Because humans making errors. If we automatize the things, it means that computers never make a mistake. They are doing wrong things if we are programmed to do wrong things, the computers, but otherwise they are able to do the things very reliably, very fast, and with low cost. So and there are a lot of business benefits. For example, business will be much more responsive. They will, and I think this is one of the key points also, that business wants very, very frequently a different thing, and they are only satisfied if we are able to do this for them. So not today, that not the most important things if we are able to fulfill business requirement. I think it's most important if we are able to change every week or every day to align to the business needs. It's more important. If the business will get the things what they wanted to do within months, they won't be happy. Definitely. We will be able to develop the things perfectly, but they won't be happy because they needs changing much more frequently. So I think this type of benefits could be if we are using the DevOps in the right way. But we should know that not all the systems are the same. I mean that there are some customer-facing systems at every company that needs this fast-changing IT. But some legacy systems of records, are not critical to have it. So DevOps and Agile is an expensive and complex methodology, needs a lot of overhead. In Agile, it's ceremonies. With DevOps, with some specialized tool sets, specialized colleagues, we have to hire DevOps engineers, we have to hire Scrum Masters, we have to hire a lot of new roles at the company side. So it's expensive and complex and fast. So we have to decide that within the application portfolio, where do we need Agile, where do we need DevOps, and where is it not needed. The waterfall approach, the legacy processes are completely fulfill all requirements because our systems are not changing frequently. So that's also important. That DevOps is not a something that fits to every system. We have to decide that where is it make sense or where is it not. Do you have some bad examples? Bad examples means that where you felt that you are using Agile or you are using DevOps, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't improve in the business point of view that things. But we are doing that because it's very modern, or we mastering only this type of way of working, and not others.
Maybe if you have your own blog about, I don't know, shoes or dresses, you shouldn't create a wall, Agile and the DevOps part of the things, because it's overhead for this little blogging
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is important to mention that it is the perfect DevOps way of working, because if you have a blog, you are developing that, you are operating that, and there are no communication problems because you own everything.
Yes.
So yeah, it's also the perfect DevOps way of working. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, so I saw some examples where we are upgrading or developing legacy systems, and just building it takes 10, 20, 30 minutes. So even automating it is quite a nightmare. So I don't think it's, and also deploying it to these older web servers or application servers, it's not trivial, or maybe not so necessary here. So yeah, I saw some examples like that.
Yeah,
and maybe
I think
there are a scale of how much do you use the DevOps? How many
yes.
things?
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on the size of the organization, depends on the complexity of the process that we are using, and it depends on the business need. So I think this is why is it important. So if we able to understand the aim of DevOps, the speed and the flexibility, then we are able to decide that do we need that or not, or what part of the company will need that and what part is not needed, because it is not the cheapest methodology. Definitely, it is not doesn't guarantee the best quality, or doesn't guarantee that the most transparent way of working. It is very flexible and could be expensive. It's not necessarily expensive because the business environment is changing rapidly. It could be cheap because we are able to turn the things very fast. So it depends on that, but definitely complex and needs roles to be fulfilled to operate it in a right way. So you are absolutely right. It means that it depends on your use case if it makes sense to use it or not. So I can absolutely agree with
Okay.
that.
A little back to my imaginary IT company.
Okay.
I think I need DevOps.
Mm-hmm.
What is the next step? Should I create a team for it or just put a new member to my Scrum teams? Maybe the guy who always fix all of the printers can do it immediately from yesterday, of course.
Yeah, it's a good thing that where to start. So the bad news is that DevOps depends on three things. We mentioned processes, technology, and organization, and all of the three are needed to be effective. If we have, for example, you mentioned that if you have a Jenkins, that's great, but it's not DevOps. It's a tool, but it's not DevOps. Or if you mentioned that if you are writing your own blog, that's great because you are developing and operating the same stuff, but it is not DevOps. All of three things are needed for that and should work together to achieve the things. And until that, we mentioned the process-wise the things that how DevOps could help in the IT processes for speed up and enable the agile way of working and to be flexible enough. But there are other dimensions also that's important. And then later on, I can answer to your question, but we have to touch these things. And we can have the right answer to you. But what should be the first step if you would like to implement these things? But to answer in a very short time, you have to visit all of these things. We have to think over that how to change your processes, what expertise you will need in the future to implement DevOps, and what tools will be needed. And we will touch the things. And also, it is not only development of operations, and security is also could be important. So DevSecOps is today, I think it's an absolute minimum to have speed, because it could be great that development are very fast, operation are also very fast, but the security guys always stops the project because we have vulnerabilities or we don't have the right documentation. So it makes sense to include them also into this circle. But to talk about a bit about people, so we touched the process things. I think we should talk a bit about people, because you asked that what type of guy should be hired for that. I think yes. I think everybody knows that. So it is from the internet. Is a very popular memes that in a sense a developer thinks that operational guys have no added value at the company. They are able to execute the things that are written down without thinking about that. So they completely have no value. And most of the operational guys could think, or what is really things, because these are cultures that a developer is not able to write anything that works, because that's their experience. Every time when they get a new release that's full of bugs, these guys are not able to create anything that works, really. So, and because of that, the cultural differences, it's slowing down. It's not fast. So if we are thinking about the others, that they are not able to, they have no added value at the company, or they are not able to fulfill their role, it slows down. Because what we will do some compensation things. I mean, the developers will try to trick out the operational processes because they are only slowing us down. Or the operational guys will create a lot of quality gates and expect extensive documentation from the developers because they are afraid that what they will get. So what we can do, that we work on the internal culture, organization culture, to see that what is the added value of the other team and how can we work together to reach the common goal. So I think that's the most important thing. And how can we know each other by the best way? The best way is work together. If we are working together very closely, then it means that we will know each other and we will see the added value of the other team. So I think that's the most important, that we have to work together and not creating that type of processes that are full of quality gates because we are afraid of the other side. I don't know that if you have this time of experiences that you feel that the other side are completely dumb, have no added value, and always creates problems for us. Do you have any example of this type of thinking in your organization that slows down the things? Definitely.
Maybe when we have too many steps, too many manual steps to get some new data,
Mm-hmm.
and in this way, if we create an automated process for this data flow, maybe
Mm-hmm.
it would be good.
Yeah, and why we are doing that? Because we are afraid of you. Developers are not reliable. They like children in a fun park. They are not able to handle the data in the right way, in a secure way, in a reliable way. So we try to create a lot of steps and quality gates to verify that what you are doing, but it is not fast, definitely. So that's the problem, and this is why this makes sense to change it.
And the other side, so I want I am a developer. I want data as fast as it possible, but maybe not the right way I use them.
Yes, maybe that could be a problem. So yeah, you need education and other things. Yeah.
Or maybe simply, so the application is down, and simply, as I am a developer, I might think that, oh, what did the operations did again?
Yes.
It's a more classical approach.
Yes.
And the reverse is that the operation thinks, why did it crash again?
Yeah. Operation guys are not able to run anything. Everything is always stops, and we have problems, and we are not able to develop. So this is the type of thinking. But the main message here, if you are creating DevOps teams that are responsible for something together, it could help because they start working for the same goal, and they during this activity, they are working for the same goal. They will know each other, and they will see that what type of quality gates, what type of processes are not needed, because they can trust with each other, because trust is the fastest thing. If you have trust in business or in IT also, the things could be very fast. If we are not trusting each other, it could take a lot of time to reach the goal, because we will deal with our feelings, and we won't work together with an effective way. So that's the main message of this slide, that we should know each other, and we should start to work together much more closely, even if it hurts for the first time. So, okay, a different topic maybe. So it's about where this DevOps thing, how can it exist in the organization? I don't know if you have experiences, though, but I mean that what type of that. Shortly I will describe the places where the DevOps could be in an organization, and I don't know what is the use case you met in your professional life for DevOps. So DevOps could be in the enterprise and an independent organization. DevOps could be part of the Agile organization that is not independent, but part of our tribes, for example. Or it could be part of our teams, the squads, because there could be DevOps experts that helps the development team. And also there is a very interesting thing. On this graph, there is a DevOps squad. What does it mean, DevOps squad? Because the squad is about to creating a product. So we have a product owner, we have a Scrum Master, and we have developers. And what the DevOps squad is developing? DevOps squad is developing that type of processes and that type of tools that helps other teams. So in the beginning of a life of an agile organization, everything is missing processes, missing the technology, missing the tools, etc. So we have to build it up from scratch, or or not from scratch, but it depends on the tool that we are using, but a lot of things needs to be figured out. In this case, we will need a DevOps squad. DevOps squad is creating the processes and the automation and the tool for other teams. And if it's ready and working, they are able to help directly the teams, I mean other business squads that are developing business products, or they can help the tribe, or they can help the organization. So this is the how the DevOps are evolving in the organization. And sometimes the DevOps teams from product developers transforming to operation guys. I mean that there are a lot of technical expertise in these teams, so they start operating the stuff instead of developing new DevOps products. But it depends on the organization that how fast we are reaching this stage. But if we see that most of the DevOps guys are operating stuff or support others, it's a mature organization. If most of the time we are developing automation scripts, we are developing tools, we are developing process, then we are in a very early stage of the DevOps life cycle. That's my experience. I don't know that what experiences you have in your organization. So what is the maturity of DevOps in your projects?
For me, it varies. So I saw examples where a company is just starting to get used to DevOps, or they want to dive into DevOps, and they technically hire an outsider team to help them. There is also, so I also saw an example where there is a dedicated team in a tribe where they are working with DevOps and they create the tools and so on. Obviously, they can be a bottleneck because everyone is trying to get help from them, as I saw. And also sometimes people are dedicated to a squad. I also saw that. It's quite nice because we have an expert who has to handle only a few people, so he can answer to them, or it can answer to them easily.
In our organization, I think we have some DevOps levels. So we have a special DevOps squad for the big things and the higher level things, and some project-specific things. We have a team member also.
It's very interesting what you are saying, I think, because it means that these things, these maturity levels, can coexist in an organization parallelly. But I think it's a good thing. So yeah, because we can have a DevOps squad that always developing their product that helps other teams, but also there could be experts in the teams that helps locally to the teams. So this is not exclusive this type of organizations, but DevOps roles can exist parallelly in the organization for fulfill the different needs of the different teams. So I think that's the most effective way that you are mentioned, that it is not black and white. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so we touched the process-wise the things, and we touched organization-wise the things. So what is the next step?
Yeah. Touch the technologies.
Yes, that's missing from the puzzle. So I think in the remaining time, in the few minutes, we will talk a bit about technology. But this is not a DevOps course, so we won't touch all of the DevOps technology in details. But I will mention some challenges regarding that, because I think it's more interesting. So we will talk about technology. First, how can we manage the explosion of a lot of apps and microservices? What we are thinking about? In the past, we had, for example, 100 applications if we are an enterprise, or we had 10 applications if we are a small business or something like that. But with the introduction of microservices, it means that we have 10 times or 100 times more applications, because every microservice have the same life cycle than a legacy application. So we have to manage a lot of things today, and we will need tools that helps us to manage the things. One of the most essential tool to manage the lot of applications and the microservice world, I think you heard about it, called Kubernetes. Kubernetes means that we are completely changing the processes, the whole we are managing our applications. In the past, we manage all of the applications one by one. There were an expert that know the legacy application ins and outs and by heart of everything. Now we have tools like Kubernetes or cloud orchestrators that they are able to manage a lot of stuff automatically. That could help. So, but why is it happening? Do you have any idea? I mean that in the past we had a monolithic application, and now we are developing the things by that way that we have microservices and we have 10-fold or 100-fold more applications. How is it helps? Because it could create problems. It is much more complex, and we need new tools like Kubernetes. That's also very complex. But how can it help in our basic thing? I mean speed, because the whole stuff is about that speed. That how can it help?
I think it scales way better. So as we have even more and more applications, obviously with a few applications, it's just not worth it to dive into a complex orchestration like solution. But if we have hundreds of applications, managing all these applications one by one, or even just somehow grouping them, takes way more energy and resources than utilizing an orchestrator, where we can do this way more seamlessly. Obviously, it's a new tool, but it's worth it if we are using that scale.
Yeah, definitely. But you're absolutely right, and that's the solution to the problem. But we created a problem for us to solve it. Why we did that? Because we created a problem. We had in the past we had one big monolith. Now we have 100 microservices. So we created a problem that we solved with Kubernetes. That's great. But why we created this problem? I could have the answer, and or one of the answers that why we created this. It's about speed. It means that we mentioned in the beginning of the webinar that the biggest problem for speed is dependencies. And if we have a monolith, it means that in the monolith, we have to wait to gather everything for months to be able to release that. If we're breaking the world to a lot of small parts, because, for example, the microservice definition is that every microservice have a different database with independent data model and other things, it means that we solved a lot of dependencies. The business can change on a small part of the applications independently of other, so we could be very fast. This is why we created the problem of hundreds of new applications, and there is Kubernetes and other orchestrators that solve this IT problem. But where is it originated? It is about speed and dependency, that how to handle that. So that's the key thing. And this is also answer to that. Do we need Kubernetes? Yes, definitely we need Kubernetes if we have microservices and a lot of applications. But why we have microservices? Because we would like to solve our dependencies from monoliths. So if we are able to understand that, we could have the right decision that do we need Kubernetes or not, for example. So in my point of view, so that's my point of view. Other thing that could be interesting for technologies, that we have a lot of new technologies. So if we are a developer, we would like to work with the most modern tools, the most modern programming languages, and like business, every day we want a different thing. So what is your opinion? Do you see this in your organization or not? I mean, this type of thing, that we are full of new technologies every day.
Full of new technologies, and in my mind I want to follow these new technologies to run with others and other studies.
Yes, just for fun. Yeah, and
Yeah, coming from the low level, absolutely. So for a developer using a new fancy technology framework and so on, it's really exciting. But obviously from higher ups comes the limitations that, okay, we might not want to do that and have a million technologies running around our company and trying to manage them all.
yes.
This is one possibility. The other is that the higher ups also try to experiment, and well, they might run into problems.
Yes. So I think we have we have a problem that we created for us, that or ourselves. What could be the solution for that, or one of the solution? I have an answer to that. It is not perfect, but I think what we call today containerization, that means that we are able to hide the complexity of the new stuff, of the new technologies, the new things in a standardized way. So, for example, if you have a Kubernetes cluster with full of containers, it doesn't mean that if you write your code in C# or Python or Java or Go or whatever, you can hide this type of things in containers, and you can manage the whole stuff in a standardized way. So again, we created a problem. In the past, we had one programming language, COBOL, and everybody had to use that, or C or whatever. Now there is a freedom. We would like to solve every problem with a specialized tool, because we think that that's much more effective. But we created a new problem on the operational side or the management side. We are not able to manage a lot of type of technologies. So we pegged the problem into containers, and the interface of the containers is the same. We can start them, we can stop them, we can monitor them, we can handle the logs, etc. So we can have orchestrators that handle all of different type of technologies in the standardized way. So I think it's, again, we created a problem for us and we solved it. So that's great. And because we solved it, we can have the big advantage that we can use for every problem specialized tools. And I think it could help for speed, but it has some price. We have to use complex orchestrators for that, and we have to learn the container technologies. And what is the consequence of this? I think this could be our last slide, or we will see. We will see at the time. We are here, so we have migrated a lot of technologies. So I think if somebody thinks that he's a DevOps expert, this is the landscape of the Cloud Native Computer Foundation. And this is not the whole landscape of technologies. It is about only the DevOps technologies. So if you go to the CNCF homepage, there are different dimensions of technologies. This is only about DevOps. But if we think that we would like to hire a DevOps engineer, it means that the poor guy have to know all of these technologies. So I think it won't work. So in our organization, we have to decide that, yes, we have a great amount of technologies, but in our organization, how we should standardize these things, because nobody is able to learn all of them. So I think there is a big advantage that we are using modern tools. That's great, but there is a price tag for every new technology. So we should be careful that what we will use and what not in our organization. And it's also a big challenge for the DevOps guys to learn all of these things and master all of these things and to be able to operate all of these things. So it makes sense to standardize the things if it's possible. So we could have some answers, as we mentioned, Kubernetes, orchestrators, containers, etc., that could help a problem. At the end of the day, there are a lot of areas that it won't help. So we have to standardize the things. That's my point of view. I don't know if you are faced in your project that type of problem, but for example, somebody figured out that, guys, we need Cassandra because that's the best database or something like that, this type of thing. And you had to learn it, or you dropped it because nobody wanted to learn, or nobody wanted to give you as a service new technology.
I had to learn it.
Anyway.
So if I want to be a DevOps technician, is it enough to learn one block of it, or maybe if I choose the smallest one?
No, I think you have to learn for every area one thing. So you have to
Mm,
learn a CI tool, you have to learn a CD tool, you have to your the source repository, you have to learn an artifact tool or any other. So I think that's the bare minimum. And what is the big challenge that from every area you learn something and you have to integrate it together to have an automated end-to-end process. And if you see the number of applications, the permutation of the integration task could be endless. So that's also a challenge that it's not enough that in one area, one of the areas we have one tool or two, but if you have to integrate together these things, it means that our organization and our DevOps teams will deal with this tool integration task instead of developing business value. So it could take a lot of resources from our projects to create our mix. And this is why it is became popular that we are not using this type of tools, but we try to use pre-integrated environments. It means, for example, we are using AWS code pipelines or Azure DevOps or something like that. So the big players, the big cloud providers, have this tool set or a subset of them, and they are pre-integrated the stuff for us. So I think the advantage, one of the advantage of the cloud could be that we have a pre-integrated ecosystem or environment for developing, deploying, delivering, monitoring the other things, because this integration could be resource intensive. Surely, if we have hundreds of good experts, we can do this in our organization, and it could be much more optimized to our processes or to our projects. But if we don't have too much resources, it makes sense to use something that's pre-integrated and works together. So that where the cloud DevOps environments could help us. That's my point of view. I don't know if you are using this type of cloud environments on AWS or Azure or Google or whatever.
I want to address the viewers. If you have any questions, you can write them in the comments. And is there anything else you would like to share with the viewers, guys? Any
I think
personal experiences?
yeah, it could be interesting.
Well, I added a few examples. Maybe what I can add is that this whole DevOps world is strongly integrate, or well, it can integrate really well with the cloud, or it almost needs the cloud to be able to reach the speed. So the DevOps comes hand to hand with cloud native technologies. So these are technically brothers or twins.
Yes.
Okay, we ran out of time and there are no more questions. So thank you, David and Laszlo, for sharing your experiences with us and giving us an insight into the world of DevOps. And the viewers, if you are more interested in the world of development, follow Cubics on our social media platforms and don't miss our upcoming events. And thank you for joining us. Bye.